We're going to call our meeting to order on March 15th, 2021 for the Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners. I ask Commissioner Meeks to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Mr. Jordan for the invocation. Well, we've got a invocation for us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, it's another day. We are thankful for this day that you allowed us to see. We are thankful for all your loving kindness and your tender mercies. And as we come tonight to talk about the business of Pasquotank County, we pray, dear Lord, that you would just show us what you would have us to do. We know that we're nothing without you, but we're everything with you. So we pray that you would help us that we might do the things that are best for all of the residents of Pasquotank County. And we pray that the residents would be understanding that it's very difficult, but we want to do what's best for them. We ask that you would remember those that are on the health field that have been looking out for so many people during the pandemic. Bless their families. Remember those that have lost loved ones, and we pray that you would comfort them as only you can do. Now, as we go forth, we just ask that you would go with us and that you would keep us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're at public comments, and we're waiting for our chairman of the Board of Elections to come. Is that right?
She said she will be here. So.
All right, very good. So at this time, we'll have the consent agenda, which is the minutes for the March 2021 meeting.
Two additions.
Oh, two additions. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, we got two additions. We'll make 7D, approval of fee adjustment request for classes and camps for the Elizabeth City, Pasquotank County Parks and Recreation. And 7E is adoption of resolution to accept bid and start upset bid process. The Finance Committee has recommended accepting the bid of $7,171.94 from William X. Dahl for surplus property located at 812 Parsonage Street, 76-A-1, and to advertise for upset bids.
Okay. All right, you've heard the amendments to add to our agenda for the consent agenda, which is D and E. Any other amendments?
That's it. I so move.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second from Sean. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. There we go. Public comments and public hearings at this time. We have several people that have spoken referencing the Northern Park. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? First, we have Howard Sewell. Is it Sewell? Smith, sorry. Okay. Howard. No problem. Come to the microphone, Howard. And then next will be Ricky Alverson.
Good evening, Councilman. First of all, my name is Howard Smith, as it said. I'm a New Land resident. I've been there for 20-some odd years. I know tonight I'll probably speak for a lot of people here in the back around here on this proposal of the Recreation Center and Parks at the 158 West site. I'm against it myself. There are several reasons. I'll make them short. I'm a volunteer fireman down there for about 7-8 years. Traffic is my #1 concern. I can't tell you the countless wrecks and deaths that I've seen on Fire Collar Road and 158 traffic-wise without even a park being there. 158 West and 17 North. It's like 2 times every week we have some kind of wreck out there as it is without even having a park there. Number 2 is the trash. There's trash all up and down roads now, let alone the park that's going to be built across the street from my mother and father-in-law and sisters-in-law's houses and all this. That means if they don't pick it up on a regular basis, these people are going to have to pick it up out of their yards. Third of all, you're going to have, I've heard a proposal of a basketball court being built up there. I understand we need a place for these young kids to go, but that's what we got churches for. We got gymnasiums at a lot of churches up and around our area. If you have courts up in here, and I don't know what time their proposal times are gonna be to shut and open this park, we're gonna have a lot of riffraff, because I seen it, I lived there. And you're gonna have fights over basketball games, you're gonna have shouting, you're gonna have cursing. I don't know about the rest of you councilmen. I have a wife and some grandkids that live with me. I don't wanna carry my wife out there and let her sit with our 2 young grandchildren when out there playing basketball and they start using profanity, start cussing, and God knows what else, the opioids that we got a big issue within in New Land, because I myself had lost a lot of people in New Land as being a firefighter in that area due to the opioid drugs down there. But having a park right there is just not the thing for us. If need be, Crooked Run Road has a lot of extra and access areas down there. That was shot down by the residents down there that y'all had at one time proposed putting a park up there. That's about all I got to say is no to the park. Thank you.
Howard. Ricky?
I can go with that.
Ricky Albertson, 960 Highway 158. My front door is 145 feet from this proposed property, Northside Park. Every weekend, every afternoon, every day when I get up and when I leave, come home from work, I'm gonna see this park. Do we really need this park in this area? We've got a walking path on 17 North, 4.4 miles away on 17 North, Henry County. Is a real nice walking path. You go down the path for 3 miles. You got a real nice rest area, bathrooms, vending machines, water fountains, picnic area. Go across the bridge, you got $1 million, probably more than $1 million, wildlife education center. They got 20 miles of trails back there. You need a place to walk, there's your place to walk. All free to anybody that wants to go. Pasquotank County don't need this up there. We've got it 4.4 miles away. On August, I'm going to read from the August 6th meeting, 2018. There was a Mr. Edmund Hoskins. I guess y'all had asked Mr. Hoskins to find you some property or something. He found some property. It was on Northside Road. And at the time, the people were looking for, I guess some residents in the New Land area were looking for some, a walking path, something similar to COA, walks around by the water. Mr. Hoskins found a piece of property, and it was 40 acres. It went to the river, and it had a price of it for $300,000 for 40 acres. And Mr. Sterrett, I'm going to quote you. This project is on the county's radar, but $300,000 is more than he envisioned. He said he had envisioned asking the county manager to put up $100,000 in the budget for property. He feels 40 acres is more than we need. He suggested starting with 10 acres. Now today, that was from August 2018. Today, y'all are looking at buying property, 51 acres, over $600,000. This is not a walking path. Don't let anybody, there's nobody going to tell me that's what this is going to be about. This is going to be an athletic complex. Plus, not only an athletic complex, according to the county manager, you're going to have a substation for sheriff, EMS, and probably you're going to bring the fire department up there too. Because in your comments to the newspaper, I know the newspaper's not the best news source, but that's all we've got to go on. because nobody has contacted us. There's gonna be more coming. Among other things. How's your quote? So what does that mean? What does that mean to us? Is that the fire department? Are you gonna bring more stuff? I'm gonna read from the Elizabeth City, Pasquotank County Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Community parks. Community parks are foundation on most park systems with a desired size of 50+ acres. Community parks provide league play athletic facilities while maintaining enough open space for passive recreation. Currently, the department has 2 community parks, Knobs Creek and Fun Junction. These 2 parks provide the citizens of Elizabeth City, Pasquotank County over 170 acres of developed community parkland. In addition, the county owns 30 acres of undeveloped land around Beach Pool. Sports complex, a relatively new type. The sports complex is specifically oriented towards youth and athletic team play, whether oriented towards soccer, football, baseball. Other team, typically with tournament play. In the past decade, the city and county has worked diligently to expand youth athletics, both through athletic sports complexes and community parks. During this period, the department has developed both River Road Complex and South Park Complex. With the addition of these 2 facilities, the needs for sports complexes has been met. Why are you adding another park? It's more money than you want to spend. You didn't want to spend over $100,000 for 10 acres. Now we're looking at 51 acres, $600,000, $600,000+. Why do we need this? You have a walking park, a walking path 4.4 miles away from this site. It appears to me that this park is going to be a combination of a community park, a sports athletic park, plus some sort of a public safety building with your sheriff, with your, probably your fire, and your EMS. 145 feet from my front door. I asked y'all, which nobody has asked us, except for Commissioner Lavin. He contacted us last week, the first time. Nobody has come up here and asked us what we want. How do we feel about this? Do you want to see that in your front door every day? I don't think you do. I don't either. We don't need it. We have plenty of parks. You've already said you have plenty of parks. We don't need this in our front yard. Not only my front yard, it's their front yard, their front yard. There's another residence that owns that piece of property. It's surrounded by 3 sides. Has anybody asked any of these residences how they feel? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. Anybody else would like to come forward that's not signed up?
Comments? Did you ask for comment?
No, sir, did not.
You did not.
Suggestions. So, Mike, would you like to address how we're moving forward with the process regarding the public hearing, the Zoom for tomorrow?
Sure.
If you would.
So that's the purpose of the public Zoom meeting tomorrow, is to get input from the community. So this is all part of, we're applying for a Parks and Recreation Tourism Grant. So a part of grant, and that the purchase was conditioned upon getting grant funding to cover half the cost. So that's the purpose of the meeting, is to get community input at that time.
What about the people that don't do that type of meeting? There's a lot of older people that live there that don't have internet, they don't have email, they don't do Zoom, they don't do anything like that. I live there And I can speak that when the meeting was at the fire department, it was very easy for them to drive to the fire department and to do that. This is not what they can do, so it's really cutting all them people out. I don't feel like this is a fair way to address it. I get it, but we have meetings every day.
What's your name? What's your name so she can put it in the record?
Gina Albertson.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Anyone else? So tomorrow, we're going to have this meeting, public meeting, as far as any other public meetings that are being asked for this
No,
process.
and the problem is we can't, with the restrictions in place through the governor's executive order, we can't have big, large meetings like we had at the New Land Fire Department for that. So we're prohibited from doing that. And the only way from this grant process, the only way that you can have this type of input for the grant process is to either have the live meeting or to have a Zoom meeting where we can record everybody.
Or you plan on having a live meeting.
No, we can't, I mean, we can't have a large live meeting.
Why can't you have a meeting right in here like we're doing today? Or another room downstairs?
Bigger footprint, so more people can come, space them 6 foot apart, wear a mask, I mean.
All right, well, we're going to let
Yeah.
the attorney and the manager come up with another means of notifying and hearing public from the public.
The gym at the church has always been very open, and they'll let people come there, and it's wide, and you can set up chairs, convenient for people to come to.
We got several churches up there, we'd be more than willing to let us come in and speak.
All right, let's get through the Zoom meeting tomorrow, and then we'll come up with a plan. Tonight was, public comment. We're glad y'all are here. The second part will be tomorrow's Zoom meeting, and then through the part 2 process, we'll probably have to have some kind of community meeting up there to kind of hear those that have not been able to participate.
So we're not gonna let tomorrow night's Zoom be our final decision, it's gonna be a continuation of a meeting to come.
1 second.
And
Go ahead, Sparks.
Mr. Chairman, what I'd recommend is because still, we've got the governor's mandates as far as limits. So
Yes.
if we're going to have a live meeting, I would recommend that we have that in courtroom A.
That way we can control the space.
That way, because we can, as a government body, we don't have the limitations.
Okay, hopefully that will resolve it. Sean, do you have ideas? This is.
Look,
trying to keep this
I did,
nice,
yeah,
but you
absolutely.
are from the neighborhood.
I appreciate the time to speak. I appreciate everybody coming out, taking the time out of your day, coming up here to be heard, to let your comments be heard. I'm partly to blame, and I'll say that. Sometimes I forget that Paul sits right behind me, and when I think out loud, a lot of times those comments make it into the paper. That being said, everything that Ricky did say has been talked about, right? So I don't want to smooth over that, but just like the chairman said and the county manager, we're still figuring it out. We're still trying to respond to what we believe is a request for something out there in New Land. Last time we got to the community meeting at the fire department, we had money, $100,000 in the budget that we had set aside. We had a property that we had kind of looked at, and we had a general idea of what we wanted to put on there. So we held the community meeting. That went nowhere. If you were at that meeting, it was very obvious that that was not something that anybody really wanted, and that's kind of where this other idea came about. So we're about to that same point again, where we've got some money kind of tied to a grant. It's still kind of out there, not really secured yet, but we're about to that point where we need to start talking about it. So these comments are important. It's important to get them in. It's important to talk right now. So thank you again for coming out here and speaking. That's all I have.
Charles, Mr. Rhodes.
I don't have it.
Bill, you had a comment?
Yes, I think it must have been 12, 13 years ago when I was on the board of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee that this whole thing came up, and month after month during our meetings, we would have a group of African American people that lived in the northern part of the county wanted to have a place where they could go and just have a walking path. That's all they wanted. And we can't afford to, and we don't want to drive into Elizabeth City. We'd like to have our own little place right here. So we bought into that. And then from there, after I went off the board, it became what it is today, which is how many acres?
51.
I'm in favor of having something for everyone. I especially am always into diversity. Everybody knows that. If they don't, they should by now. So we need to do something positive for as many people as possible without having traffic violations, without having clutter, without having personal problems over a basketball court. And I want to do something for all of the people that everybody could go to if they wanted to. They didn't want to go, well, they didn't. That's all I have at this point.
Okay, Jonathan, anything to follow up on that?
I'd like to thank y'all for coming out, and I'm listening. And I appreciate your information that you brought to us today. I'm listening, and like the county manager said, we're gonna have more meetings on it.
Our fear is, you've already set up a Zoom meeting for tomorrow night. We feel like this is a done deal.
That's
You've
what I
already got a plan already
That's
set.
why I was asking.
You've got a Zoom meeting, but you've got everything you want there
Exactly.
already plotted out on that piece of property that you're gonna show us tomorrow. We're
That's why I
trying to
asked.
play catch up.
Well, no. Mr. Chairman, can I? Okay. The meeting, that's the purpose of the meeting, is the one question is, are you supportive of a northern part at the tractor pull location?
Where they at tonight?
That's the question. That's the question, and so if we get a negative response to that, then the park is over at that site, because the board conditioned this approval based upon grant funding. So if we don't get support of that location, so no, nothing is any way, shape, or form a done deal. That's the determinant, and that's why they require you to do that. Much like the previous location, when we went to Newland Volunteer Fire Department, clearly the community didn't want it, that ended that location.
My point is, right down the road is, these two pieces
Hey,
of
Ricky,
property are not that
Ricky,
far
excuse me.
apart.
You've already heard part of this.
I
I would like
understand.
for you to participate in the Zoom meeting or the public meeting. So, I mean, if there's anything to add, we're just trying to move forward, giving you the opportunity. Normally, after the public comment, it's usually board ministers kind of move on, acknowledge the public, and thank you for doing that. So we've kind of stepped away from our normal process because it is a big, important thing to the community up there. So that's why we felt that this county manager at least explained that a decision hasn't been made, and a piece of dirt hasn't been moved, or a pencil in the sand what's going to go there. Just conversations, okay? Mr. Perry, any comment?
My only comment is the fact that I had not heard this the way it's doing right now. I was under the impression until right now that the public wanted a park out there in that particular area, because I know that a lot of people travel back and forth to the city to do basically the same kind of thing you're talking about for that particular park. But I was certainly surprised. I'm surprised to hear that there are a lot of people that's not in favor of the park out there. So I don't know.
Okay. All righty, so at this time, we're going to move on to the next item. I think tomorrow, if you can participate on the Zoom, it's great. I think the county manager and the Parks and Rec board. Sean sits on that Recreation Advisory Board too. We'll try to come up with a way that the public can participate also after this meeting, but we kind of go into our due diligence in the process of a party grant, and that's how we're going to move forward with that. That's the fundamentals of what the managers explained to me and how we move forward with this. And the members of the board have been listening to you tonight. Barry is not here tonight to hear the same conversation. But I'd like to thank y'all for participating. If y'all want to leave or stay for a few more minutes, we're going to move along with our agenda. Okay? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody else? It's just the two people that signed up on this sheet. Okay? Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. There's one item which I would like to make a comment on, is in referencing the resolution. Bear with me just one second. Is that during the retreat, item C is a resolution for honoring Judge Cole at his retirement party coming up. Commissioner Perry asked for the resolution to be drafted and presented during that afternoon. So there are 2 times of presentation. I think it's 2 and 3. So the members of the board, Mr. Perry wants to comment about that, and then we'll go ahead and put the vote on the consent agenda.
I received the information from, your question.
I just wanted to remember to ask if, I know we brought up a portrait last time too. Did we ever get authorization to do something different?
That's different.
Okay.
This is just a resolution. Support. Go ahead.
Okay, I was asked to pass about the resolution by Judge Cole, who is Judge Cole's wife in Burford. And I think it's a great idea because it would be honoring one of the people that actually served as a judge from Pasquotank County. I could stay here and tell you how well I know him. I taught him in high school. I guess that's why they asked me to actually ask you if we would present a resolution on the 27th of the month. And I think it's a great idea because we don't get that opportunity often to say good things about people. I've been knowing Judge Cole. I taught him mathematics in high school. He is a math major from college. He's a judge, and we've been friends for a very long time. And my relationship with him has also been with his father. His father and my father worked together, so he's very honorable, and he's presented himself in this county in a manner that is not always presented all the time with all our citizens. So when we get a chance to sing the praise of one another, I think that we need to do that. We really need to work real hard to work together. And this, I think, is an honor for us. It's not just for him also. I think it's an honor for Pasquotank County to recognize one that has achieved beyond expectation.
Okay. So what, with the 2 times, what those that want to speak, I think Commissioner Sterrett said he wanted to speak also there. So we just need to let Lynn know so that she can say, notify Judge Cole's wife who's going to participate in that and speak, so we can read the resolution of those members of the board that want to speak to them. But Perry does. I'll be glad to read the resolution. It's been requested, and Commissioner Sterrett wants to speak also, so we need a date and a time.
3 times, maybe?
I guess it'd be 3, yeah. Okay. All right, under the consent agenda, it's approval of minutes, adopt the resolution amending the Tourism Development Authority, adoption of the resolution honoring Superior Court Judge Cole, also 7D and E, which came from the
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda 7A through 7E as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Go right ahead, yes, sir.
When this resolution is presented at the College of the Albemarle, I know we don't know the exact time. I think it would be a great thing if as many of us as possible can attend the reading and the presentation of this resolution to Judge Cole on the 27th.
Is this that floating type thing for
Yeah,
like 4
so-
hours or something?
Yeah, it's like they can, I think, present from two, one's at 2 and one's at 3, so we'll find out from then when they can slide us in, okay? At this time, consideration of appointments to boards and committees. Mr. Jordan, I think Barry's not here tonight, but I think there's something to come forward.
Right, first we have some reappointments. The Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee. And from that, we want to reappoint Laura Alberico, Jasmine Wilson, Herbert Mullen, Carol Mazzell, Stacy Williams, Mary Walker, and David Boone. Those are reappointments. And we have one other recommendation to fill the position on the Community Relations Commission. This one, if approved, will have to lay over until our next meeting. But the person, because Russell Haddad is moving out of the area, there is an opening. And this opening that they are suggesting is for Ronnie Williams of 2903 West Main Street. That's Elizabeth City now. So the request there that he's the owner of Williams Enterprise. He attends the College of the Albemarle and Fayetteville Technical Community College. And that he's interested in serving on the Community Relations Committee. So we have the reappointments and we have the one recommendation for the Community Relations Commission that has to lay over
And
2
that's
weeks.
your motion.
Yes.
Okay, you heard Mr. Charles' motion for the board appointments and the reappointments. Need a second? Sean, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The most exciting news in Pasquotank County is about to be given us from our Board of Elections. And Jackie, welcome. Thank you for coming. Troy and Emma did a great job during the last election. Now we're getting ready to look at some new voting machines in which there's new data and the newest we can get. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, so everybody, I passed out this packet. I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. So, you know, I came before y'all last August, asking for preliminary approval on the board's recommendation for the purchase of voting equipment. Just to give everybody a rundown, that was the ES&S, the election system and software DS200s. It's the upgrade from the model that we currently have. The board saw a demonstration, they liked that equipment, they recommended that for purchase, and y'all preliminarily approved that at the cost of $100,545. So the next step that we had to follow was to test the equipment. We were unable to test it during the last election just because of how crazy everything was. But the state board did allow us to run something called a simulated election. And in that, they brought equipment into our office. We had poll workers run 200 plus ballots into each machine, just to simulate what like a normal like municipal election traffic would be on the machine. Several people from the community were there. Mr. Jordan was there, Mr. Meads was there, Mike was there, and they got to see the equipment in person. And in your packet, if you'll skip kind of towards the back, after the pictures, just wanted y'all to have some pictures, you'll get into the nitty-gritty of what the test entailed. So we were tasked by the state board to run essentially a real election in 3 hours. So we fed the ballots. People got the opportunity to test the new upgraded ADA equipment. We're not getting that right now, but that may be something for the future. After that, we had to tabulate the results like we normally would on election day. Following that tabulation, the board ran several audits. They did their normal canvassing audits by comparing the result tapes to the imported results. And all of this stuff in this packet is that information for y'all, just so you can see what we always look at. We also had to randomly hand eye count 2 precincts. So the board completed that task as well, and that showed that the machines tabulated what was bubbled on the ballots. It was the exact results, and you see the tabulation sheets or the tally sheets for that as well. And then we did our normal canvassing procedures to finalize an election. And all of that showed that the equipment was tabulating what it was supposed to, based off the results that we hand-eye counted and that were fed into the machines and into our tabulation software. Which basically means that the equipment is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it will suffice, and it will work efficiently for the voters in Pasquotank County. So I come before you today to ask, with the results that you have here, for you to approve, to do a final approval for the purchase of this equipment. If we get your final approval today, we will move forward with the state board to get them their final approval, and then we will sign the contract and purchase the equipment.
Jonathan, any comments on your visit to the polls that day? Or the
Yeah, I
process?
had a lot of questions, but I think the technicians and all answered a lot of. I was to ask you one thing. What counties are these being used in at the present time?
So I couldn't give you a list of the counties because there's 77 counties that currently use this equipment, and there's 94 counties in the state that use ES&S.
And they've
So-
already used these in elections?
Yes.
Okay.
Currituck has the DS200s.
Mecklenburg is what one of the technicians said has
Mhm.
been used.
Yep. But closest to us, Currituck has, and so does Dare, and they've used them successfully in multiple elections. And like I said, ES&S is the equipment we currently have. We have the M100s, the older versions of the DS200s. We're just upgrading them, more security features, stuff like that.
It also compatible with your ADA units too, was it not?
Yes, our
So you
ADA
get-
machines that we currently have are the Automarks. Like I said, we're not upgrading those right now, but we probably will have to in the next 4 to 5 years, just so y'all know.
Okay. All right, Charles?
Just thank you for the opportunity I had to be there, and I did get the opportunity to operate the machine, and they seem to work very well. So I think they'll be very well for the county.
You got to try the new ADA machines, didn't you, the touch screens?
Okay. All right. Bill? You got any questions of Emma? Okay. Sean?
I don't have any questions. I really wish I could have made it. It was just in the middle of the day. So, thank you very much, though, for constantly coming back, though, and answering our questions, especially with the elections being as prominent as they were this year. We really appreciate the communication.
Mr. Perry, any questions? All right, so this time we'll need a motion to move forward with the Board of Elections recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Okay?
Second.
All right. Mr. Perry makes the motion, Charles Jordan seconded. Any further discussion? Moving forward with the ESS systems and software for $100,545. All those, so the motion say, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Emma, thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Troy. You got an easy election this year, right?
We have one.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, very good. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. All right, this time, county manager's report.
No additional questions, Chair.
All right, county attorney's report. All right, Mr. Sterrett, your report.
Comments now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'll make a couple of comments about the Judge Cole situation. I'm asking all of my committee members to attend. And that's going to be at 10:30 on the 27th. And as I understand it, Mr. Griffin will be presenting whatever we approve. And then he will say, other people want to make comments, and that's the time that I would say a few words. And Mr. Perry, I'm not going to steal any thunder from you. I know you got it all, but I'm not going to steal any of your thunder. Now, my wife and son and I are very pleased to have known Judge Cole over a period of time, and so I will save some of my comments until the appropriate time after our chairman speaks. But I will be making some comments, not only from my family, but from members of the community and of course, from commissioners. Now, you might want to know that the SPCA voted to continue their meetings under the auspices of Zoom. They had a little bit of a discussion when we met just a week ago about how they're going to continue, because now you can have 25 people at a meeting and so forth, but they want to stay with Zoom. So as far as I'm concerned, that's what it will be for them. And I think also that you can probably expect a call or an email or some kind of communication from the community relations group about the discussion on the Parks and Recreation thing that we've had about how they can spend their money. So count on them making contact with all of you that are making decisions about how they can spend their money. It's because, as I told you, I reported to them, yes, you can spend $500 that way, because your bylaws state that you can. You don't have to ask anyone how you can spend that money because of what your bylaws say. All you gotta do is vote, have a motion, vote, and make a decision of how you wanna do it, and then you tell your secretary, write them a check, send them a check for $500. So that's where they were before today. So you can expect to hear from them. That's all I have at this point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
I think all my meetings are this week,
They are.
and some of them are on the same day and time. You know, it feels like I've been busy for the last 2 weeks, but apparently not. I'm just looking at the calendar. Never mind.
There you go, Jonathan.
Same thing, Sean.
Here's in the middle of the month is when it starts coming. Mr. Perry?
Well, I pretty much said everything that I want to say, but I hope that we can attend the meeting this month of Judge Cole's retirement. And I think the resolution, if you've got to read it, I think our secretary did a great job. I think that she did a great job of writing it and putting it together. However it happened, it was very, very good. But I want to say again, I think that when we look at our community, it's a great thing for us to be able to recognize people in our community that has actually done things, excelled, and because so many times down here where we live in our little community, you find so little to say about the good things that happen, and a lot of people don't know all the good things that happen. We've had all kinds of things that has happened here that most of you don't know about. When I read the newspaper this past week, I think where I saw the McGee brothers, Jerry and Mike McGee, if you saw in there the fact that they had done professional football and all this kinds of things, I think we need to recognize that and let people know that we do things. Then there's McKenna Boston, a name that you all don't know. But McKenna Boston played football with the New York Giants, a boy that played football right here in this community. And it also became the athletic director for the University of Minnesota. That's big for Elizabeth City. We also have the 46 Army, one of the leading Army people from right here in this community, and the information about Betty Parker. How many of you read the newspaper and so forth about Betty Parker? 20 women that was recognized on national television right here in Elizabeth City. So again, I could go on and on been here a long time, I'm not going to, but I'm very proud of our community, and let's look forward to working together. The thing that they talked about as far as the community center, I think what we have done, we've tried our very best to be good stewards of what happened in our community. Today is the very first time that I heard about all the opposition about the community center being built and so forth in the community, about the kinds of things that happen. We just need to talk, learn how to talk with one another so that we can actually be better supporters of what we're supposed to do ourselves. I have nothing else to say. Thank you so much.
Mr. Jordan?
I guess I want to say something about only one meeting I had, was the Trillion meeting. The other meetings are coming this week. I will say, as far as Trillion is concerned, you know that the commissioners have appointed me to the advisory committee of Trillion. And what Trillion does is they appoint members to the governing board, and I've also been appointed as a member of the governing board. So that's just for information. That's it.
Okay, thank you. This week I received an email from Hezekiah Brown. The River City Youth Build is looking for youth and mentors that can kind of help with those programs, to kind of give some guidance and moving forward. From the airport, we're moving forward. You saw where we received a grant for an expansion of our aviation park, having some shovel ready. As people are starting to show interest, the economy is starting to continue to grow in our aviation sector in our community. Another component is with the EDC. Right now, this coming Friday is the last day for the applications. We've received, I think, 12 or 15. They've done some screening and some review, and they're positive. We have some good candidates for that. Through the Albemarle Commission, they're working on fiber optic and pie in the sky type of technology to get broadband in our communities. I think Smarty and I talked a little bit about it this morning. Also talked to the Albemarle Commission director about it this morning, where they're going into the rural communities such as Hyde County, which is at sea level, below places, and putting fiber. It's going to be a challenge. However, they're looking at some of the satellite technology that's available there and trying to get grants for that and using their grant money that's just been another batch of allocations there. So that seems to be pretty good. In workforce development, they can't find enough people to fill some of the jobs. And I think, Sean, you tell me that you're having, and you sit on that board, that's a conversation that you hear regularly, is finding enough qualified candidates or getting training to those that want to be retrained with a certificate. That's the thing. So this week, we start our meetings again, and hopefully next meeting we'll be full of information. And remember, on our calendars on March 28th, 27, no, our joint meeting?
29.
29th will be our city, county joint meeting, and the manager is working on the agenda right now for that.
And the menu.
The menu's already been written.
Menu's done.
Right, Lynn's taking care of it.
You want it to be a surprise, or I could all write an article about it?
Hot dogs and chili. All right. If there's not anything else to come before this board,
This is being passed out. If you write SPCA at the top of that page,
yeah, we have,
yeah.
Okay.
Cecil didn't get one,
he's
these
got it. We all got
gentlemen all the way down the end didn't get one.
it. We have it.
I forgot that, when I was giving my report, I forgot to pass these out to you. As you might realize, I'm supporting SPCA. And I want you to know what they do. This is a good example. This is month after month. They have outstanding attendance. They got about, I would say 12 people on their board, and they get about 8 or 9 to come to the meetings. I think there's 9 different individuals here that give reports. So you need to know all of this so to help you answer questions. Did Mr. Perry get one of these?
Yes, sir, he did. We got, the members got a copy of the agenda. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for the, So at this time, we'll stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.